More immigration madness to talk about now. The parliamentary ping-pong shows no signs of letting up after the House of Lords kicked the government's Rwanda Bill back to the Commons. Rishi Sunak is still licking his wounds after suffering a series of bruising defeats, with peers rallying to water down key parts of the Prime Minister's flagship deportation scheme. The heavy blow leaves the bill in deadlock, delaying flights until mid-June at the earliest and throwing further doubt on whether the Prime Minister's pledge to stop the boats is ever going to materialise. The Prime Minister reportedly spent last night trying to rally backbenchers to his cause, telling the 1922 committee of backbench MPs that they must unite or die. Meanwhile, Home Secretary James Cleverly accused Labour of trying anything to delay, disrupt or destroy the government's plan to clamp down on small boat crossings. And all this comes as the latest Home Office figures shows more than 500 migrants crossed the Channel on yesterday alone, the highest number in one day so far this year. The cumulative number of small boats arrivals this year now stands at over 4,000. So far from going down, that's 10% higher than at this point last year. So talking to talkTV earlier, a former chief immigration officer insisted the flights will make a difference when they finally get off the ground.
The people smugglers are saying to the migrants, look, there's a lot of huff and puff coming out from the UK, but nothing's happening. They announced this 2 years ago, and still nobody has gone to Rwanda. So forget all about it. It's just not going to happen. And that's what the migrants want to hear. As soon as you see planes taking off to Rwanda, then it will be a different ballgame.
I mean, I just don't think it will be a different ballgame. First of all, I don't think the flights are ever going to take off, not in this regime's time. We haven't got infinite time for this to happen. There are plenty of people who are very, very keen to ensure that it never, ever happens, and they've been pretty effective so far. And then even if it does happen, it's going to be a handful of people. You know, the people that come over here in boats take a very reasonable, calculated risk that their statistical chance of being sent anywhere and not issued with a British passport and a warm welcome and cups of tea and free things is very, very low. They've got a hugely high chance of creating a new life here. I can't blame them. It actually all stacks up for them.
And they'll never leave. That's the probability. The one thing I question is why, because a lot of EU countries that are so, just horrified by this Rwanda bill, their refugee or asylum acceptance rate is 37%. Ours is 77%.
Yeah.
So the question here is, why aren't we turning more people away? I mean, even if the Rwanda scheme, which I highly doubt is ever going to get off the ground, isn't going to make a huge difference, you can actually just say no, because these are not refugees. They haven't been accepted yet. They're applying. So why can't we just turn more of them away? That's what I don't understand.
So today the government declared a national emergency about the number of boats coming over. And for a brief moment, I thought that the Prime Minister was going to do something spectacular, which would be to turn back the boats. Because under international law, if you declare a national security emergency, you can do that. And I thought, my God, this is going to completely change the fortunes of the Tory party and of Rishi Sunak. And guess what? All it was about the Rwanda bill.
Yeah, and they say, a lot of people got excited, but actually what Sunak and the gang were saying is it's a bit of an emergency. They weren't declaring a national emergency. You're quite right. We could do all sorts of things if we did. But I'd like to talk a little bit more about this grotesque spectacle of parliamentary ping-pong. The Labour Lords, of course, are trying to delay it. So are the Lib Dems.
And the crossbenchers.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what they do. But I just don't, I think the people of Britain are looking at this saying, hang on, whatever you think of the Rwanda policy, the Rwanda scheme, this is the democratically elected government. They are supposed to enact the will of the people. And yet we have these unelected lords, hello, Lord Vasey, up there in the upper chamber trying to skew this.
Yeah, well, this unelected lord weirdly was in the lobby with the government voting.
I'm not. That's just a joke.
No, but I do accept. I accept your point. I accept your point. The House of Lords passed these amendments, which went back to the Commons. The Commons voted them down, then passed the bill back to us. At that point, you should have said the Commons has expressed its will. We can have a debate about it, but we shouldn't be voting against what the House of Commons
cut it off much earlier, because what's now happening, Vernon Coker made a good point in the Lords today. He said, well, you're accusing us of delaying the Rwanda Bill. Oh, heaven forbid, Vernon. Of course you're not doing that. He is doing that.
Yeah, he's the Labour spokesman.
Yeah, but he did make the point that you're accusing us of delaying it, so we're all expecting we'll be back here on Monday and Tuesday debating. But no, the government said let's leave it till after Easter.
Yeah, I don't understand why there is that delay.
Truly, you could have gone to sleep in November and woken up now. And okay, it's in the Lords, it was in the Commons then, going back and forth and all this. I don't think the British public are angry about it, the ping pong. I think they're angry that this farce is still going on.
Well,
and I think they're angry about 370 million, and I'm really angry about that. This wasted money, if we end up getting 150 off the ground, maybe, it probably won't happen, as you say, Isabel. At what cost? At what cost will that have been?
That's basically
millions.
Well, Rwanda has said they'll give it back. I've sort of come round to the idea.
They've only got one hostel which can house 150.
I bet you
and more of them are going to be coming the other direction.
Well, I mean, but the thing is, I think we need to put this into perspective, because obviously the Rwanda scheme is, they're trying to model the Australian scheme that they brought in, I think, in 2012. And the Australians spent $800 million. And 2 years after that, the people coming across the small boats were like 70. So it did work for the Australians. I know the number sounds ridiculous.
They got a handy
the thing that people have the problem with is, again, the unelected lords blocking this. The people that don't have
I think the summer is going to be terrible for the government, because you're quite right. Today, I was walking, it's a slightly weird thing to say this, but I was walking down the street thinking it's the first day I haven't worn a coat. And I did think, and guess what? There'll be lots of people crossing the channel because the sea will be like glass.
And can I just point out, by the way, that yesterday a migrant was stabbed critically on his way over on a boat. So what does that tell you about the type of people that are among these boatloads?
No one is disputing that the people.
By the way, it was one of the windiest days of the year today. It wasn't as still as glass. Okay. It was a nice. It was nice weather.
That's a very good factual correction there. Thank you for that.